Good evening, good evening, good evening. Radio. Always honored to be your host here on Street Talk every Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here and nowhere else other than Star 92.7. It is 5:01 on the Star 92.7 clock, and it is the 16th of April, winding our way on through the month. And happy birthday to all of you who are celebrating birthdays today, and anyone who's celebrating an anniversary and a work anniversary. Just loving to celebrate, anything positive that's happening today. I know that I've seen a lot of the birthday celebrations are not the usual celebration, but celebrating nonetheless. People are getting innovative and creative with all of these celebrations and ways to stay connected. So happy birthday to all of you. And today is Thursday, which always marks the end of my Straight Talk week with you today. I'm very excited about a number of conversations. To start off the show after my daily bread, I will share some time with two different small business owners, one of whom is Carly Singh, known to many of us here in this community as one of our longtime fitness gurus. And so she has transitioned and found ways to continue to keep her clients fit, old clients, new clients, and ways that she's transitioned to continue offer services during this time, as well as the couple that runs a company called Tradewinds Logistics and Transportation. Many of you I know are wondering, how do we get things from Miami or from the USA at this time? Well, they have an answer for you, so they will be with us as well after I get the opportunity to speak to Miss Carla Yee Singh. But you guys know the deal. Before we go any further into our conversation here on Straight Talk, we always start our time with the reading of today's daily bread, just a moment focused on God. So today's daily bread is entitled Hungry for God and comes from Jeremiah 15, verse 16, and reads, When your words came, I ate them. They were my joy and my heart's delight. So the writer goes on to write, a new believer in Jesus was desperate to read the Bible. However, he's lost his eyesight and both hands in an explosion. When he heard about a woman who read Braille with her lips, he tried to do the same, only to discover that the nerve endings of his lips had also been destroyed. Later, he was filled with joy when he discovered that he could feel the Braille characters with his tongue. He had found a way to read and enjoy the scriptures. Joy and delight were the emotions the prophet Jeremiah experienced when he received God's words. When your words came, I ate them, he said. They were my joy and my heart's delight. Unlike the people of Judah who despised his words, Jeremiah had been obedient and rejoiced in them. His obedience, however, also led to the prophet being rejected by his own people and persecuted unfairly. Some of us may have experienced something similar. We once read the Bible with joy, but obedience to God led to suffering and rejection from others. Like Jeremiah, we can bring our confusion to God. He answered Jeremiah by repeating the promise he gave him when he first called him to be a prophet. God reminded him that he never lets his people down. We can have the same confidence too. He's faithful and will never abandon us. Thanks be to God for that word today. As always, here on Straight Talk, we remind you, we encourage you to spend time each and every day focused on His word, meditating on His grace and how awesome He is, whether it be the morning or the evening or right here with me, Monday through Thursday on Straight Talk. With that, I am going to invite Miss Carla Yee Singh into our conversation this afternoon. And for her very first time, which means we do have a Who Ya Mama Is segment today as well. 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also WhatsApp me, 324-1565, or you can email me, straighttalkci@gmail.com. And certainly we are streaming live via the Star 92.7 Facebook channel. So feel free to join us there as well. Shout out to all of you who are already logged in, whether it be via Facebook or on the radio. It's so glad that you could join us this afternoon. But Miss Carla, how are you doing? Hello? Hello, hello? Carla?
Yes, can you hear me?
There we go. I have you now. How are you doing?
I am wonderful.
Awesome. Well,
Not today, but what can I say?
adjusting.
I
Uh,
am. I am.
but in fine straight talk style, as I forewarned, it is your first time in studio with me, and so
Yeah.
that in studio on Straight Talk via a live streaming virtual link. So it is going to be the first time my audience gets to become acquainted with you, and so everybody is dying to know who your mama is.
Well, I hail from Spanish Town, Jamaica.
Mhm,
Came to the Cayman Islands in 2002, just after the 9/11 disaster.
mhm,
That's what brought me here initially, because I
mhm,
was working with the Ritz Carlton in Jamaica. And there was
mm,
no more travel.
mm.
And I came here to investigate and see what was happening in the fitness world.
Okay.
And the Gold's Gym
Mhm,
was looking for personal trainers and fitness instructors. And I took the opportunity to come here. And from there, this has been my home.
mhm.
So I'm happy to be here. I've been doing a lot of different things since I've been here, and I'm happy.
Awesome. And so I remember, and we put a timeline to that today, because I said I remember that I left for university in 2003, and I actually at the time was a client at Gold's Gym, although I never at the time had gone to one of Carla's classes, and I think you were coming kind of around my transitioning and getting ready to leave. And I remember going to Gold's Gym, and on the days you taught, the class was Soca Aerobics, right? Was that the
Yes,
name of the class?
yes, yes.
And I would go into the gym and you would hear the music coming out into the main gym. And I kept hearing about this new trainer at the gym who was doing this soca aerobics class, and people would come out dripping with sweat, right? And so in our course of our conversations over the last couple of days, we got to kind of put a timeline to that and just reminisce
Yeah.
about some of those things. But so you have been, trying to keep people fit and doing so in a fun way, as well as, just whipping us into shape when it is necessary, for many, many, many years now. And so, for the benefit of the audience, over the next couple of weeks, I will take the opportunity to share, have business owners who are still in operation, who have found ways to offer their products and/or services to their clients during this time, despite lockdowns, despite curfews, despite social distancing, and Carla is one of those people. And I know many of us, and I have certainly, uh, I guess, coined my own little term, trying to avoid getting what I call COVID fat, being at home, right? Trying to figure out how to, because I am someone who normally goes into the gym, or, normally goes to classes and all that sort of stuff. And so it can be uh, a difficult transition. And I see Summer LaRue tuning in, saying, "Good to see you, Carla." And of course, and thank you. Shout out to you, Summer. She says hi to me as well. So Summer LaRue is tuned in. And I see my mother saying, "You are amazing." Good afternoon, mother. But let's get right into it, because we have a short segment. But how did you get into personal fitness and training? How did that happen? Why did you decide to get into that?
Well, in Jamaica, I used to be an engineer. I used to work with IBM fixing computers,
Mhm,
and at the same time, I was doing martial arts. I was a Taekwondo black belt, and I did a class and broke my ankle, and I had to do therapy. So I started to do physical therapy, and the physical therapist said, "You can go to the gym and do these same exercises,
mhm,
for recovering those legs." So I'm like, okay. So I
mhm,
went to the gym and start working out, and the national coach for the bodybuilding team saw me, and he says, "You have a fantastic physique. Why don't you come and do, bodybuilding with the rest of the team?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. I'm a martial artist. I will never do those things." So, and every time I go there, he would keep pestering me, and I was like, "You know what? Let me see what they're doing." And I start training with them, and he says, "We have a competition coming up in 4 months. Would you train with me and enter the competition?" I'm like, "No." And he says,
mhm,
"No, just try it." So I'm like, okay.
mhm,
Trained every single day for 4 months,
mhm.
and I won my first competition as a
Wow.
bodybuilder. So,
Mhm.
So from then I got hooked. And the week after I won that first competition, I was like, wow, I'm great. He called me 2 days later and said, I hope you haven't been eating bad. I said, why? He said, you're going to represent Jamaica now in the Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
to qualify Jamaica for the Caribbean Commonwealth Games. I'm like, what? You know, so immediately I start running and start training hard again. And within the next week, I was in Santo Domingo and I was competing. And then from there, I started going into bodybuilding. And then I loved it that much that even though I was an engineer, I started studying to be a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because I saw the transition and what I learned from the whole change
Mm-hmm.
from seeing my body from a little skinny little thing, because I was very skinny, and I
Okay.
started putting on muscles, and I learned how to eat and to put some muscles on. As a female, it's harder for us to put muscles on, so I learned a lot of stuff, and I did at least 10 different courses
Mm-hmm.
on personal training, nutrition, bodybuilding, and how to get the body to change. So it's been a journey, and I love it.
Okay.
So this is what I'm using to this knowledge with martial arts, and I also did dancing. So I do martial arts dancing.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yeah, there was a brief freeze in feed. Go ahead.
Yeah. So and then from there, when I came here in the Cayman Islands, I decided to also incorporate the dance part, which is the reggae aerobics. The reggae aerobics was a big thing in Jamaica, but it wasn't quite a big thing here in Cayman Islands. So when I came here, I brought it with me. And when I used to teach my aerobics classes, it was so packed. We used to have people standing on the outside of the class doing my aerobics class.
No,
So it was,
not a bad thing to happen. And I already have some questions coming in from the listening public because people are trying to figure out how to burn calories, right? So, I take a moment to. Summer is asking, what burns more calories, brisk walk or bike ride?
a bike ride. It depends on how fast they're riding
Mm-hmm.
and how fast they're walking. So it all depends because I have walked really fast before, and I mean, I use my watch all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I can burn up to 400 calories going for about half an hour. And I've ridden on the bike and cruise, because not pedaling all the time, and I can burn up to 200, 300 calories at the same time. So it depends on everything. It depends on the terrain. It depends on how hard you're pumping. So if they have a
For
good
the
meal,
average, for the average person, if you had to say one or the other, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to go with the walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Summer,
Usually
there's your answer. The brisk
brisk walk.
walk. Yes. A very, very, very brisk walk. And of course, everyone is curious during a time like this when most of us are used to, like you said, people were piling up outside, training right outside the class. Most of your clients, I'm sure, at this time would be used to training with you in person. How have you transitioned to be able to still offer services to your clients during this time?
Well, I have been doing Zoom and Skyping
Mm-hmm.
for most of my clients who decided I want to keep my fitness going. Some of them don't have any equipment at home, but I have lots of different innovative ways that I use to train people because I did martial arts. So I do martial arts moves, I do dance moves, I do a lot of hip moves and aerobic moves. So if they do have, some water bottle at home, I can share at home. I got
Okay, so
to
those of us who may want to add some weights, we need to start saving our water bottles and our milk gallons, right? That's what I'm hearing.
yes.
Okay. And how do people get in touch with you?
Okay, my number is 929-4068, area code 345.
Mhm.
And my email is cysing22 at yahoo.com.
What if someone's never trained with you before? If they wanted to still train with you during this time, is that still possible?
Of course, of course. I do a small consultation that, they can talk to me online or they can talk to me by phone,
Hmm.
and I'll ask them a series of questions, like about the age, their ailment, if they have any injuries, they have any sickness, anything at all.
Hmm.
So we know where to start from and what
Hmm.
their goals will be, and we can go through all of that.
And Boris Brady is saying, keep getting it done, cuz. And Summer says, lose weight. Should I do something like get my rate up high, then let it lower for a few minutes, then keep that cycle? Or is a steady heart rate better?
If you can do a hit, which is to keep your heart rate up for like within 2 minutes, keep it up there for 2 minutes and then bring it back down, keep it at a level, and then go up again, you'll burn a lot more calories that way.
All right. I'm going to have to, because I'm going to have to do something since we're in another period of lockdown. But just a reminder, as I transition on to our next business owner, if you want to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you? And, final reminder to listening audience.
Okay, and my number is 929
Mhm.
4068. It's 929 4068 or CYSING22 at yahoo.com. Or you can reach out to Ruthen. I'm also I'm also on Facebook,
Mhm.
Carla Yising, and Instagram at Carla's Fitness.
Mhm. Awesome. And so they can find you on social channels, contact you by phone or email. Carla, thank you so much for your time. And I am so glad that you're helping some of us still avoid being COVID fat and stay fit and
Yes.
active and continue to keep it up. And we'll talk again, I'm sure, through all of this. But stay
Thank you
safe.
very much, Ruthen, for this
You're welcome.
opportunity. Yes.
You're
And you have
welcome.
a good one. Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right, guys. Next up, I am going to have Roland and Carrie from Tradewinds Logistics and Transport. While they are based out of Miami, they provide services to clients here in the Cayman Islands, which I'm going to let them tell you all about. For those of you who may be less familiar with them, I know that, like many people, I have been busy trying to figure out, especially some of the things for my daughter that I'm not able to find as easily or at all in certain cases, and to figure out how do I get them? How do I get them here? And well, one of the solutions that I've uncovered is Tradewinds, right? And so I see that Roland is here and Miss Carrie is joining us, and I'm excited to talk to them this afternoon. So good afternoon to you both. How are you doing? Hello, hello.
We're doing well. Good afternoon to you.
Hello.
And good afternoon. And I want to get right into it. So, um, in the event that you don't know, when you're on Straight Talk with me for the very first time, I have a segment called "Who Your Mama Is," right? And Carrie, if Roland doesn't know about this, you're gonna have to fill him in, right?
Yeah.
And just everyone about yourself very quickly, a little bit about your background, so that they get to know you a little bit better.
I guess we'll start with me. I
Mhm,
am, or my mama is Joyce Ann Seymour,
mhm,
now Green. Uh, so my family is a lot of the Seymours. Um, I moved to the States, but stayed in between the two. Um,
mhm,
growing up, I joined the US military. I became a nurse in the military. I am now a nurse practitioner.
okay.
Um, and then Tradewinds blossomed from a need that we realized we have more coming too, other
Mhm.
businesses, hopefully, but Tradewinds is the beginning of helping Cayman.
Awesome. And for you, Mr. Roland, if you could tell everybody who your mama is.
Well, my mom's name is Ainita, and
Mhm,
her last name is Gordon, like mine. And we're originally from the U.S. Virgin Islands.
mhm,
So I actually met Carrie. I don't remember how many years now. So many lifetimes ago. Uh,
mhm,
and so we actually own a few other businesses as well, but Tradewinds is actually what we are working on right now. Um, I don't know what else to tell you about my family.
That's fine. That's fine. We're gonna talk more about Tradewinds today. So, if you could just briefly start by telling everyone what is Tradewinds Logistics and Transportation.
So Tradewinds is a concierge shopping, shipping, car service company. We came about to service a need that we were told was there, which I knew, but being away from Cayman for a little while, I didn't really know the impact. And then when I would come home for long periods of time, I'd bring my stuff with me because it was just much cheaper to bring it than to buy it in Cayman.
Yes.
So that was where we started. We started with shopping and shipping, and then we've kind of grown into a couple of other areas and services that can't use right now, but are great if you're in the South Florida area.
Okay, and so I want to, for today's purpose, I want to focus on the services that you are offering that impact us the most right now, which is getting goods to the Cayman Islands, right?
Okay.
And because we know that the our normal postal service is closed, but people still need to obtain items for various reasons. So, what is the process if I needed to get things from the U.S. and I needed them here in Cayman? What is your process?
We have a couple of different plans, programs, I would call them. So if you're buying for yourself, you would order them, send them to us. We, on our Facebook page and our Instagram page, it actually has the address and how we need that name to appear so that there's no
lag,
Yeah.
no lag or no disinformation as to who has where it's going and who it belongs to.
And then so you would ship it to us. Once we receive it, we repackage it. We make sure that we have all your packages. So once you order, you have to actually send us your invoices, the full invoice, so that we know all of the things that you've shipped. And once we know that we've gotten them all, then we repackage and we send those to Cayman. Another one that we have is, let's say you don't have a US card or a card that is accepted on a US site, but you may have a CI card. As long as you can pay online, we have a payment portal that we can send to you. And once we receive your funds, then we'll actually place the order for you once you've given us the items that you need, the quantity, all that good stuff. And we also have a cash paying, but this is a little hard right now with you all not being able to move.
Right.
Prior to stay at home, we required like a 50% deposit in cash at the store, Cellular Works. And then once we received that, we would place the order on your behalf. Once the goods got to Cayman, you would then pay the balance. So that's
Cellular Works is your local partner.
Correct. They are.
Okay, so they deal with your cash collections and such. And how long does it, people are like, okay, I want to order something. How long is it going to take?
So
Well,
normally
this is extraordinary circumstances.
Right. So normally we say 7 to 10 days after we have received your goods. So after we've gotten your complete order, 7 to 10 days from then, you can expect to have your packages. A lot of times we actually get it there a lot quicker. But so people aren't like, oh my God, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff? we give ourselves that window. We do have expedited where we can do 2 to 3 days. There is an upcharge for that. But that clearly is not working right now because Cayman Airways is down to once a week right now. So
okay, got it. So right now, for the most part, your expedited option that would ordinarily be available is not available right now, but you are still getting goods. And so once goods get here, if I ordered something from you guys or ordered something that you guys were sending to me, would I then have to go and pick it up from the airport or from customs, or how would I get my items?
No, we handle everything we have a representative in Cayman who will clear your goods.
Mhm.
And we were putting it together, but now because of the whole situation, we've actually partnered with a local company who
Mhm.
has privileges to be able to do deliveries, and they will actually do the delivery. So there's nothing that you have to do on your end except pay in full so that we are able to deliver it, because we don't want to deal with any cash on the road.
Okay, and that's perfect. And how do people get in contact with Tradewinds?
So we are on Instagram. We're on Facebook.
Mhm.
Our Instagram is tradewins_LT. Facebook, it's tradewins, L and T, and the and is the at sign, or the and sign rather.
Yeah.
Our WhatsApp is 954-393-6993.
Mhm.
And then there's also our email, tradewins.
LTinc@gmail.com.
Awesome. And anything else that you want, like, and I know ordinarily, there are other services that you offer. So before we, run out of time, I would love for you to just share when life starts to get back to normal, and travel starts to resume, whenever that happens. What are some of the other services that you offer under normal circumstances?
So we have, well, with the shipping and the shopping, there are a couple other ones that we kind of didn't go into. So we can do, even right now, let's say you have a package, you left it at a hotel, you need us to pick it up, we'll get that for you, ship that to Cayman. If you have something that you need to pick up from a specialty store, or a store that, like a car part that has to be paid for in person, we can do that, ship that home. We do businesses as well. So we are currently contracted with 2 companies who ship overseas, and we actually house some of their stuff here. We send it out to them as they get orders, like US orders.
Ah,
But some of our other
perfect.
services, you were saying something?
Okay, so some of our other services is actually our shopping service,
Mhm.
which actually can still be used here presently, even with the lockdown, because of the way it's done.
Mhm.
We The customer would then send us a list of the things that they want, the items they want. So say if you want Ensure, or something
Mhm.
that you just can't go online and buy, okay,
Mhm.
or like some like baby formula or something like that.
Mhm.
We would actually we have all of the specialty stores that we can enter, as well as the wholesale stores such as Costco, BJ's, Sam's, Restaurant Depot. We have access to all of those places. So we would actually go in there, make the purchase for you, and then ship it down to you.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord, you're about to be my new best friend.
We also have what's a car service, but this is, as right now we can't use the car service. But the car services, we have airport pickup and drop offs. And if you're coming into town and you only here for a few hours and you need to go to a doctor's appointment, you have something else you need to do, so you're just here for a few, we'll come pick you up, take you to wherever you need to go, and then we'll make sure you get back to the airport on time to take care of your business. And if you're here for a few days, we also will pick you up, take you around to all the specialty stores you want to go to. If you want to go to those, that's included in the pricing that we give, as well as anywhere else you want to go.
Awesome. This
Um,
is this is amazing. I think that there's so many, because I remember when you guys popped up on social media, and I was like, who are these people? What do they do? They're talking about picking me up from the airport. So I've been watching you guys for a while, and I will say you're also very prompt in responding on social media. But I would Patricia on Facebook says awesome to the information you guys are sharing. And if you could, for me, just share final thoughts, reminders with the listening public, how they reach you, and how they get in contact with you at this time, and how they find you on social media.
So the quickest way is usually WhatsApp. I mean,
Mhm.
I literally live on the phones, so I see them anywhere. But the
Mhm.
quickest way is usually WhatsApp, which is 954
Mhm.
393 6993. The email, we check it multiple times a day. It's tradewins, and
Mhm.
that's wins with an S, LTinc@gmail.com. Facebook is Tradewinds L&T, and then Instagram is Tradewinds_LT. We monitor all of them pretty much till about midnight, and then we're up again at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning.
So always get a response. Awesome. Guys,
Yes.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. I will certainly be in touch, and I appreciate the opportunity to hear and learn more about your business, because I know that there are many people, and I've seen the posts on social media trying to figure out how people get things here. So I know this was helpful to other people as well. But I appreciate you guys. Stay safe, and I am so happy I got to talk to you guys. And
Awesome.
to my audience, I'm going out to my first break of our time together. It is 5:31 on the Star 92.7 clock. When I come back, we will be in open mic. I'm going to touch on a few things that came up in today's briefing, as well as anything that is on your mind today. 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also WhatsApp me 324-1565, or you can email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com. And we are streaming live on Facebook from the Star 92.7 Facebook page. Keep it locked to Straight Talk on Star 92.7. We are back, folks, and you are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young, always honored to be your host here on Straight Talk, Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m., right here and nowhere else other than Star 92.7. It is 5:34 p.m. on the Star 92.7 clock, and I am now in my open mic segment this afternoon. I have a few things that are on my mind, and of course, I have had a question or two come in via Facebook already. We are streaming live via the Star 92.7 Facebook page. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns for anything that is on your mind today, 943-3700 is the line in studio. And you can also WhatsApp me at 324-1565, or you can email me as well, straighttalkci@gmail.com. You did hear today in today's briefing, there is one more positive result, which was otherwise it was connected to another COVID positive person. So that was an interrelated case. That was the only positive that came back today. Thank God. There are some changes in the new curfew, as the honorable premier said. Basically, they given with one hand and taken with the other. Some adjustments were made, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I already have my friend Johnny Doak posted on Facebook, where he asked me. On my page, he says, can you please mention the ambiguity in the new hard curfew as it relates to beach access and driving to exercise? The new regs come into effect tomorrow at 7 p.m. If that is the case, then A through K can go to the beach and drive for exercise tomorrow. So this curfew and this curfew regulation does end tomorrow, and a new one comes into effect. Amongst other things, the premier did announce that this would be a curfew would be continued for another 2 weeks from Friday, the 17th of April until the 1st of May, all curfew restrictions would continue with essentially about 2 adjustments. And the new time for exercise is between 5:15 and 6:45 p.m. because the public kept asking, can we leave earlier because it gets hot by 6 a.m., or people wanting to be able to exercise later. So they did give us more time, more hours through which we could exercise. We are still only allotted the 90 minutes per day. However, the hand that took said that we can no longer drive to exercise. So wherever you live is wherever you start out for your exercise. And power to you guys who run and ride and can traverse much further distances, because he said that there were too many people wearing, I think he said, jeans and t-shirts, and saying that they were going to exercise. People were taking advantage of that provision within the regulations, and so these were the adjustments that they made. So the new 2-week period does allow you to exercise from 5:15 a.m. Between the hours of 5:15 a.m. and 6:45 p.m. However, you can no longer drive to where you are going to exercise and then go and exercise to avoid unnecessary traffic on the road, basically. And there was a general kind of tone of positivity today in the briefing. Both Dr. Lee and I have someone who calls Dr. Lee Lily. And when they said it to me the first time, they said, yeah, Lily said such. I said, who is Lily? And they said, Dr. Lee. So in case Dr. Lee doesn't know, he has a whole new Caymanian nickname. So his Cayman nickname is Lily. But he seemed generally optimistic and pleased with the way things were going. And he did speak to a graph that he plans to share. And he's been in discussions with GIS and others to be publishing this, he said, about twice a week. Now, as to Johnny's comment or question on Facebook, and he says he hears me. Thank you. To be honest, Johnny, I actually need to look back at my notes because I haven't had time since the last, when we were issued with these last regulations. I do not recall what time this current regulation ends, whether this current regulations, does it end tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Or does it end tomorrow evening? I am going to be honest to say that I have not had time to look for that to be able to answer your question, because if I had time to look at those notes, I'd be able to answer your question about whether or not, and it's important, and there may be someone who is listening that can answer, and if I don't get an answer during the show, I'll do my best to get an answer for you as quickly as I can after I come off the air this afternoon. But a very valuable question. Do the persons, tomorrow, can you go out and drive to where you would ordinarily drive to exercise? Or is that now over and done with as of 5:01 tomorrow morning? But I think in the very least, we can agree that effective Saturday, nobody can drive to where they're exercising. I will do my endeavor best to get you an answer in regards to your specific question, or if there's anyone who is listening that can provide an answer to that, you can either call into the studio, or you can WhatsApp me 324-1565, send me a message on Facebook. Any of them may work, because I'm sure Johnny's not the only person who has thought the same thing, right? And has that same question. A few more things that they spoke about during the briefing. He did acknowledge that the legislation around pension would be coming up in short course. They've essentially figured out some of the logistics around a meeting of the Legislative Assembly and the numbers that would be allowed to be present for that particular meeting. They are going to allow for a 6-month pension holiday and the possible pension withdrawals. He did not give any announcements, at least to the best of my knowledge, and I did miss the tail end of the briefing, but to the best of my knowledge, in his initial comments, did not give any indication as to the formula that they had been discussing. That is something that he said has been saying needed to be figured out, what would be the formula for the withdrawal of pensions. I know that a lot of questions have come into me, as with other media houses, around that, because people are trying to figure out how do we seek out extra income. And to a question, I'll address one of the topics that after the briefing, I had a number of people that messaged me and called me on this, as they have been over the last 2 weeks. He addressed the question around civil service servant pensions or public pensions. I think Miss Donna Bush may have said, any further consideration to allowing civil servants or those who have public service pensions to withdraw from their public pensions as well. And paraphrasing, he did basically say no, that no consideration was being given to that. And he was unsure as to why that was being requested, as civil servants have all continued to get their salaries. They have no intentions of any civil servant pay cuts. Or anything that would affect the civil servant income. And so I know that, as has been for the last weeks, I've had a number of civil servants, reach out to me saying, will they allow us to take anything out of their pension? And such did happen this afternoon as well, even before the briefing was over. And to be honest, that's why I didn't actually get to finish the briefing in its entirety, because I had a number of civil servants reaching out to me who had been sending these questions to me as well around civil servant pensions. And some of the sentiments that have been returned to me from the beginning is, while their salaries, the civil servant salaries, have not been affected, number one, many of them are incurring additional expenses, whether it be because children are home, or because they may have a spouse or other people who would otherwise contribute to the household expenses, who have now lost incomes, who, the other persons may not be civil servants. And so then I raised the question. I said, well, if the person or persons in the household who would then have a private sector pension possibly can access theirs, that hopefully would then be able to take care of, to some degree, the lack of their income. And someone raised a very valid point, which was, what if that person is newer to the workforce, or new to private sector, so that person does not have much of a private sector pension. And so even if they're being allowed to access a private sector pension, the amount they can access may be inadequate to help balance out the household needs. And I did say, okay, it may be a case where they may then need to reach out to NAU, but I am also made to understand that the general regulations as it pertains to NAU for households bringing in more than $3,000, even on these circumstances, people are, you still don't qualify. And I had someone directly say to me, the wife in the family still has her job and still is getting an income, whereas the husband does not have an income at this time. And she blatantly said, yes, on an ordinary day they are fine. However, and she may make over $3,000 a month, but what if the household expenses are at $6,000, right? And the husband does not have a job at this time, and his private sector pension, based on what they know of the amount in it, will be inadequate. So what then do they do? And so these are the questions that are being raised around this. And so concerns coming in still from the civil servants. Now, I was very honest with persons, and I said, I honestly, I don't actually think that the government is going to, follow through on any option for civil servants to access their pension. But the questions are still coming forward. They are still asking, they still want to know, because many civil servants are also, possibly supporting other family members and things of the like. Shout outs to Dave, who is tuned in via Facebook. Thank you so much, Dave. I see you. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna take a pause. I'm gonna take a pause for Dave. I can't wait till I can pick up the phone and call Dave again and say, need to wash my car. I am looking forward to that day. I am doing my best to keep on top of that, Dave, but I'm definitely not doing as good a job as you do, and I don't have a vacuum. So that's a whole other story. So when this is all over and done with, Mr. Dave Wedderburn, who is on Facebook, if you need your car washed, he's your guy. So I trust me, Dave, from the bottom of my heart and from the carpets in my car, I miss you and I miss being able to call you. But so, I wonder what the thoughts are from the public. Are there other civil servants who, and I know that there are lots of civil servants that may not share the same sentiments, I'm not sure, or others who may feel the same way. Do you think that civil servants should be able to access some portion of their pension, even if it is, if there's some more kind of red tape around it for extenuating circumstances, where a spouse or a contributor to the household may not have and a real private sector pension, just maybe because they are new into to the workforce or new into private sector, for example, and what options may exist there. I know that question continues to come up, has been posed to me many, many times over the last few weeks, and I don't think those questions are going to go away anytime soon. Another thing that I saw start to pop up today in media and across the board now, during this time when much of what we are talking about, much of what our concerns are centered around, is all of that's going on in the world around COVID-19. However, many wheels are still continuing to turn, and and other things are also happening. So I saw an article pop up today, basically saying that the government was moving forward with their appeal to the rulings in regards to the first ever people's initiated referendum. And so I now see an article from Cayman Compass that says Premier Cruise referendum no longer on government's agenda. And so the article goes on to say government has no plans, and this is a Cayman Compass article. Government has no plans to proceed with a referendum on the cruise port project, despite its decision to continue with a legal appeal connected to the proposed $200 million development. Premier Alden McLaughlin suggested Thursday that as far as his administration was concerned, the project was effectively dead, but government is pursuing the appeal because of the legal principles at stake. With the current turmoil in the cruise industry, it is not clear that the deal with the Verdant Isle Port Partners Consortium, which involves Carnival Cruise Lines and Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, is still practical. The cruise port referendum is not something that is even on the government's agenda for the rest of this term, Mr. McLaughlin said. Whatever happens with that, it will the be another government that deals with it. He said his administration was dealing with the global public health emergency and trying to keep the economy from collapsing. That is going to occupy all of our time for the rest of this term and well beyond for whoever is in charge thereafter. The holding of such referendum is not on the government's agenda at all. The premier was answering questions during Thursday's press briefing about why government was proceeding with an appeal against the court judgment which struck down in its initial referendum law for the cruise port. And he said the scheduling of the appeal set for a court hearing via Zoom video link in May was not in his hands. And so that is uh, another topic of discussion that is rearing its head at this time. And I know that before COVID-19 brought all of us, all of life, to essentially a screeching halt, and fully focusing our energies on this. I know much of what consumed public conversation was the first ever people's initiated referendum, and that has been the helm of a lot of our discussion over the last 18 months, really. And here it is showing again. So to the best of my knowledge, there is a court hearing by Zoom set in May, and I will do my best to actually post the articles on my Facebook page when I leave the studio, to speak to what is set currently, and of course the article that I just read that is in the Cayman Compass. And so while much of the focus of the entire country right now and the rest of the world is everything involving COVID-19, not everything comes to a screeching halt, and this is certainly not one of them. And if you read the article, the premier does say that even though the referendum and that deal is not something that's going to be of any focus to them over the duration of this next term, which is just about around about another year. And we can anticipate, at this point next year, God spares life and everything staying on track. If we are on a similar schedule as we would have been in 2017, we would at this stage know for certain who the candidates in our upcoming election will be. So, and for those who you listen to Straight Talk and you know me, that is something that I continue to have discussions about, which is the importance of getting registered to vote and participating in voting. And I know that COVID-19 is the focus of all of our energies right now. However, barring something anticipated, we will still come on the dawn of an election in 2020, and we are talking about what is estimated to be about a year from now. Mariana Hilton, keep up the good work, my friend. God bless and keep safe. Thank you so much, Mariana. And blessings to all of you who are tuned in here on Straight Talk. And certainly, I know many people have, maybe not put their mind to something like the cruise birthing, but there are also those who have continue to ask questions about it and continue to wonder, well, where was that at, what is happening. So we've got some answers on that today, and I would love to hear from you as to your thoughts on the fact that an appeal is proceeding on the matter, and the premier said in regards to the legal principles. And certainly if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns as well that you would like to be a topic of discussion here, I know that one of the things that's always near and dear to me is the topics around small business and how we keep small businesses afloat during any time in the economy. And that is why, me along with Star 92.7, have chosen to, as we did today, highlight, businesses, small businesses who are still in operation right now, providing valuable services and products to the community. I please reach out to me if you are a small business who you are in operation, you're offering products and services, a local business. And I know that there are a number of businesses who would have, and business owners who would have otherwise been in hospitality or the tourism industry, who have rejigged and retooled and are offering a different service at this time, or started a new business during this time. Please feel free to reach out to me. You can always call or WhatsApp me, off of Showtime 324-1565, or email me at straighttalkci.com. I would love to be able to highlight you and share your products and services with the listening public, because I think that is something that is incredibly important. We need to do everything we can to support local, to ensure that we keep as many people employed as possible, as we know that once we get past the pinnacle of healthcare concerns around this, the very next thing in line is the economy. And I understand why the premier and his government has had to put full focus and all energies into how do we save lives, how do we ensure that we don't lose our loved ones to this very invisible monster that has taken over the world. But I also totally understand all the concerns around income and economy and businesses being able to reopen. It can be very difficult to not ask those questions because, expenses still mount, bills still need to be paid. Those are the realities of life. And so I completely understand why business owners and employees continue to ask the question about the economic plans. But I understand the position that the government is in. I think day before yesterday, the British Virgin Islands did publish one of our sister territories. They did publish essentially their reopening plan to a certain degree. Like us in this instance, their borders are set to be closed at least through the end of May. And they, to my knowledge, have not even entertained flights to bring back residents or the like. Once they shut their borders, that was it. They have been fortunate in that they currently only have 3 reported cases positive and no deaths. And their premier took the position early on to do a hard lockdown. They did transition to a few days of a soft curfew in shopping in alphabetical order to allow people to go and shop and get their groceries, and then they transitioned back into a hard 10-day lockdown, and which they are about to come out of at the end of this week. And they published a number of documents that went out on social media channels and to the public for them to understand what the process was going to be, the scheduled reopening of certain categories of businesses in a very strategic way. But they also reserved the right to change that at any point should it become necessary. But that is also, I think, part of what has benefited them was before they had any number of cases on their shores, they decided from the first sniff of it, they went into essentially a hard lockdown and did not waste any time. And once they closed the airports, that was it. It didn't matter whether you were from there, it didn't matter you were a permanent resident, it did not matter. And there was no entertaining of flights otherwise. And I think that's what has helped them. We've seen the truth is that countries that have taken that position have been able to nip it. And if they were able to do it early, they nipped it in the butt. And hopefully, it will mean that they are able to reopen their domestic economy at a faster pace, assuming that there is no resurgence of the virus in their communities, which we all will continue to watch. But they did publish their phased plan and made it open to the public. So for example, in the British Virgin Islands, their phase one involves things like borders remaining closed to inbound travel until June 1. Private boats and vessels within territorial waters are banned during the first 30 days. Boating is a very big part of their tourism. And so they did include that nope, those would not, at least for 30 days. Students from schools will remain closed as well. Teachers are being allowed to, access school facilities for, to do classes, offer classes through virtual means. That's also part of it. There'll be limited access to critical businesses for them this coming Saturday, and that including things like supermarkets, bakeries, pharmacies, because they essentially have been closed, I think, for about 10 days now. From supermarkets to banks, to farms and fisheries, to gas stations, they have had a complete and utter lockdown during this time. And they did pull out guidelines for businesses to sanitize the businesses, sanitize the facilities, utilizing private security to enforce physical distancing and sanitization during this phase, wearing PPE. So they have outrolled a whole plan. It's actually a 17-page document to the public in regards to what is the plan moving forward. I am sure that we will also get there, but we are still fighting. Cases, but people showing up positive, whereas they have essentially had a good stretch of 10 or 14 days with no new positive cases. However, it is now on the turn of the 6 o'clock hour here on Straight Talk. I'll be back again on Monday. Today is Thursday, which brings me to the end of my Straight Talk week. And I was happy to be able to showcase the small business owners in the first half of the show. And of course, always keeping us abreast of what's going on in the community. If you have anything else you want to talk about, I know many of you have gotten lots of feedback from yesterday's show in relation to the 4 nurses that I had on. A lot of people seem to have enjoyed that global perspective. If there is anything else, any industry or category of business or profession that you want to see what other people are doing, saying, what advice is being followed in different sectors on a global front, please let me know, as I'd be happy to arrange such shows. And I'm working on a few of them as well, ideas that have come to my mind. But I did get a lot of feedback from you from the listening public after the show that enjoyed the conversation. I think up to 10 o'clock last night, someone messaged and said how much they enjoyed the show. So I appreciate you guys. Please be safe through the weekend. Follow the regulations. We all need to do our part in all of this. This is for our betterment. It's tough. I know it, from an economic standpoint, and even just from not being able to see family and friends. I am dying to get to hang out with and hug and kiss my niece, my nephew, my sister, my mom, my like everybody, because we don't live in the same households. And I'm waiting impatiently on that time. But hashtag stay home, K-Man. I love you guys. Please, for those of you that might still be on the roadways, please drive safely. And I'll be back again on Monday for some more Straight Talk right here on Star 92.7.